they claim was reaching for a knife, even though they said in their own testimony he was 4 or 5 feet away. There were 3 police officers, all of them armed. All of them could have created distance. They had tasers. They could have did things far less intrusive than to shoot them in the back 3 times. But that's what they did and killed them. And the Supreme Court said, we have no problem with that. Qualified immunity applies. And they doubled down on qualified immunity in the aftermath of the torture of George Floyd. And so I'm speaking sporadically and emotionally because I know time is not my friend. And I want so much to say to you all that please keep doing what you're doing, but also know that real lives are at stake. This isn't about some theory or some idealism. This is about real life. They are killing our children. I know our President Biden is in Baltimore, Maryland today. I was there this morning giving a press conference, Felicia, regarding Marilyn Mosby, the African-American female prosecutor who charged and prosecuted the police officers who killed Freddie Gray. And she's under a federal investigation that stems from the Trump administration, as is Kim Gardner in St. Louis, another very talented and very accomplished Black female elected prosecutor who prosecuted the white couple who pulled the guns on the Black Lives Matter young people as they marched by their house, never threatening them in any way, but she charged them. And so they have been coming after her. Also, Kim Fox in Chicago, another African-American woman. All these Black women are first of their gender and race to be elected as prosecutors. And they all have these investigations on them. And it was shocking to me that we understood the political persecution of the previous administration. But what is mind-boggling to us is why it hasn't been shut down yet in this administration, where we went out and voted in a pandemic to say that we believe there's a better America on the horizon, a more just America. And so it's these fights that we have to fight, and we can't be shy about it, because in 2022, the reason why many minorities will come out and vote is based on what actions we did, not things we talked about doing, but things we did. So I was like, we can't sit idly by and let them go after all these Democratic elected Black women and say nothing. Former Congresswoman Corrine Brown over in Jacksonville, she had her sentence, her conviction overturned by a all Republican panel, saying that it was completely unconstitutional. And now a Trump holdover in the Middle District of Florida, U.S. Assistant Attorney, is threatening to retry this 76-year-old Black woman who the Republican appellate court said was unconstitutional for her to be charged. And so I'm saying, hold on, who's in power? Is it their administration or is it the Democratic administration? And you have examples of this all over America. So my mother always taught me, if I get a chance to speak truth to power, then do it. And you all are very powerful. And I may be singing to the choir, but the choir got to sing louder, because 2022 is on the horizon. And we got to be able to inspire people why they got to come out and vote, especially all those young Black people in Atlanta who gave the Democrats the control of the United States Senate. and helped President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris get control of the White House. They're asking questions like, why aren't they doing things to address these issues? And so it has to be people like you and I who have influence to say to our Democratic leaders, we have to demonstrate that we did not play it safe, but we did what we were elected to do, and that was to go stand up and make the Declaration of Independence real, and not just rhetoric on paper when they say we hold these truths to be self-evident, that we all created equally, that God created us all equally and endowed us with certain inalienable rights, amongst them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, that can't just be about white people, it got to be about Black people and brown people and red people and LGBTQ. It has to be about all of us. And we have to make that real, because there's a lot of people out there starting to become depressed. And that is not good for us leading into 2022. They are heartbroken that we can't get the John Lewis Voting Rights Act passed. They are heartbroken that we can't get the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act passed. And so I am encouraging, I've talked to the White House last week with the families. I encourage President Biden, whatever you have to do to have the most powerful executive order on police reform, then you need to do it, and you need to do it in short order, because these people went to the polls with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor on their mind. And if we don't deliver something for them, and I get it, the Republicans would not cross the aisle, not a one, but that still doesn't mean we can't use our resources, our authority to do something. And that something could be everything that an executive order can do, short of qualified immunity and Section 242 of the Civil Rights Act, to hold government officers accountable for killing Black people. And I just say this brief thing. You all do know qualified immunity was in response to the KKK law that was passed in 1867, when you had government officials working in concert with the KKK to deny newly freed Black people their constitutional rights. They created the Civil Rights Act of 1867. And then it was in 1965 in Georgia that they came up with qualified immunity to say, well, there are certain times where you can't hold police and government officers accountable for brutalizing and killing Black people. And we're going to call this qualified immunity. And it's been on the books since then. And it hasn't been since Lyndon Baines Johnson that we had any kind of police reform. And when you think about all of the marginalized people that have been killed by police in those 58 years, I mean, you think about the Michael Brown hands up, don't shoot in Ferguson, when we got close to getting police reform under President Obama, but it didn't happen because the Republicans wouldn't let it happen. And then we just knew we were going to get it after George Floyd tragic, torturous death gave us this opportunity. But now it seems like it's going to fail again. And therefore, I have come to the conclusion, I don't know how long this polarization is going to go on in America, but every 4 years, our national leaders get an opportunity with executive order to make the law of the land, while their president, more democratic, more equitable, more inclusive. And so if that's what it's going to take until we can break this partisan gridlock, we got to say that's the reason to win the elections, because this executive order is in power and it stays in power if we win. And if we don't win, then it becomes their time to do executive orders. And so it's terrible that we're like this in America, but this is the state we're in. And I don't get so discouraged, because I remember what Frederick Douglass said. He said, without struggle, there can be no progress. And so the mere fact that we're all struggling, we know every day we're progressing a little more towards a more just America, a better America, one where Ahmaud Arbery could run free without being lynched for jogging while black, not in 1940s and 50s, not in, the 1800s, as his father said, but he got lynched in 2020. I know if we keep struggling, we will make a little more progress to make America more just, where Breonna Taylor can sleep in peace and not be killed by the police executing a no-knock warrant for Felicia at 1 o'clock in the morning and killing that young Black queen in the sanctity of her own home, which was not only unnecessary, unjustifiable, unconstitutional, but it was illegal because the police lied on the search warrant, but nobody has been held accountable for her death because of their Republican attorney general. And if we keep struggling and progressing, we can have a more just America where George Floyd will be able to have an opportunity to take another breath and not from a police officer's knee on his neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds, while he says 28 times, "I can't breathe. Please take your knee off my neck, sir." We're better than this, America. We're better than this. We can make a better America for all our children. But it's going to not be easy. It's going to involve us struggling, taking on some challenging things. However, I know we can do it. We will win this war against implicit bias, discrimination, and racism, because we have won it in the past and we will win it in the future, brothers and sisters. Thank you so much for having me.
Amen.
God bless you. Let's make America a more just America.
Amen. Thank you so very much, Ben. And as Martin Luther King says, the long arm that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. And with people like you and others who are at the forefront, fighting for justice for all, so that this is a more equitable country, that all of us have the rights provided to us under the Constitution. As you correctly stated, we will, if we don't give up the fight, we will at some point be able to overcome finally. And I thank you so very much. I appreciate your joining us. And our president would like to speak.
Yeah. Mr. Crump, I'm Sally Butsine, the president of our Tallahassee League. Thank you. And I just want you to know how proud Tallahassee is of you. Every time I see you, I just beam with pride that you're from Tallahassee. And we just are inspired by you, and we're going to keep fighting. So we're in there with you, and thank you for spending your time with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, President Besson.
Blessings, my friend. Thank you.
God bless you all. Thank you.
Good night.
Right. Have a good evening.
Good night.
Good night. Everyone, thank you so very much for hanging in there with us. It didn't quite go as planned, but it went as it should be. So thank you again. And Sally, do you want to close us out?
Well, just again, what an inspiring speaker. And thank you, Felicia, for arranging that. Felicia and Mr. Crump are good friends and neighbors. And so, as I said, I'm just so proud to have him from Tallahassee and doing the Lord's work. Really, he's just an amazing person and so well spoken. And we thank you for being with us. And Stay tuned for our November Hot Topics, which is going to be on November 17th, the week before Thanksgiving. I'm sure we'll have another good program. And thank you again for being with us, and hope you have a good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Hey, Felicia, it's Paula.
Hey, Paula.
Apparently, we're neighbors too, because Ben lives up the street from me.
Oh, we are
yeah,
kidding.
we have to make plans to walk around the block. But thank you so
Absolutely.
much for setting this up. It was great.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much, everyone. Have a
All
good
right.
evening.
Felicia, it turned out great. He is amazing just to talk off the cuff like that.
Oh, I will tell you, I'll have to text him later on, but thank you so very much.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you later, Sally.
Okay,
Have a
bye-bye.
blessed weekend.
Bye.